Good afternoon, everyone. It's Anifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I thought I would talk about something that I think a lot of people, a lot of us, maybe all of us, are experiencing in communication. And you know how much I love to share ideas about communication with you. I know that it's been quite a focus in my work. Again, in grief recovery, very important in terms of how people communicate with each other in relationships of any sort, but it's also in terms of workplaces and homes and day-to-day communication. And today, the reason that all of this is on my mind is because I'm noticing that with increased technology, you might notice that people use things like abbreviations. So this is why today I've called this video Abbreviated Communication and Shortcuts. And this is how I think that when people are looking at these sorts of abbreviations regularly, so we all know the LOL or WTF, and it's so much easier to put in those letters rather than writing out the whole words. And I'm finding that in regular communication, this is happening too. So I thought I'd share a few different quotes with you as I share some ideas and get you to reflect on it for today. So the first quotation that I wanted to share with you is, good communication is the bridge between confusion and clarity. Good communication is the bridge between confusion and clarity. And this is by Nat Turner. And this is confusion and clarity in good communication. So you know, two words there. There's communication, there's good communication. And of course, different people would think that different things are good. So I believe that we went from a space that, or many people went from a space of really good writing skills and good communication skills, whether spoken or in writing, and even in terms of actions and behaviors. And then we started abbreviating. So things like this LOL and WTF. And we know that there's always been communication that's the nonverbal communication. So someone can be smiling and say, oh, that's really funny, but rolling their eyes. And you know that they don't really feel that it's funny, or they think that it's maybe punny, or maybe it's sarcastic or something. And so there's that double message in that situation. The similar thing is happening in terms of written communication. You know that most of us are doing a lot of texting these days. And I find that I'm really aware of how people are communicating and how I am too. So I thought that this would be useful. The next quotation that I came across was by Gabby Bernstein, or is by Gabby Bernstein. It says, we're often afraid of being vulnerable, but vulnerability creates genuine connection. And this is so true. So we would think, wow, why would we be vulnerable by writing out something more specifically? So rather than writing out proper words and language and making sure it's really clear what we're sharing, we might be feeling vulnerable if we say that, okay, I'd really like to do this, but I don't want to take advantage of someone's niceness. I don't want to feel like I'm pushy. There's so many things that are going on in my mind while I am asking for some assistance. And so I'm very vague, abstract about how I present the information. Yeah, if you're able to get me, that'd be fine. But don't worry if you do, and I can find something else. And so we do these things. And yet, even that is very clear communication. Most often, it's just kind of up in the air. Is anyone able to do this? So we do this in workplaces a lot, that, oh, this needs to be done. And the manager will say, well, one of this group do this. And everyone's waiting for the next person to put their hand up because who wants extra work? And so it's not really clear. And that manager also doesn't want to feel like they're zeroing in on one person to make them feel more responsible or more special than anyone else. And so that can happen too. And I'll tell you in terms of texting that I'm kind of hinting at that it's something that's coming to my attention quite a bit, that in communications right now, do you know there's trends for communicating with each other? And you might be noticing this sort of trend amongst the people that you're communicating with, and maybe coming from you too. I notice that when I can check in on someone and say, hey, how are you doing? And if they don't really want to say too much, they'll say, all good. literally all good. But you would think, okay, maybe that's a person who says that, but it's become kind of a regular response for many people. So it's a common response of all good. Now, what does all good mean? Does that mean my health is good? My sleeping pattern is good? It's all is good. So that's great. I don't get any clarity from that. It's all good. I can also feel like a person is just trying to finish a communication quickly. That, oh, I don't want to elaborate on this because so much is going on. It's all good. So just like when we ask, how are you, to a person that we're just running into and they say, fine, because occasionally they've elaborated, oh, this is happening, or someone else has done that to them. And they think, I was just asking, I wasn't really that interested, but now I heard a lot. And so now when people ask me, I just say, I'm fine. So we have to, where we can, I think we'd benefit if we actually look within to see how we're communicating and why. And the whole purpose of communication is to get a message across clearly. This interesting idea about this vulnerability creates genuine connection. That when it's really clear about this is what I would like, or this is what I'm thinking, or this is what I'm feeling, without a blame or shame, not guilt, not um, so again, blame or shame towards oneself or towards another person. So creating guilt in another or creating guilt in the self, but really useful to just be able to be straightforward, honest, and respectful. And those would be really important details. That is this message straightforward? Is it honest? Is it understanding how a person might receive this? And for the longest time when I was writing, and maybe all of us, when we learned about writing in assignments from teachers, right from grade school, it's often, who are you speaking to? What is the message you're trying to get across? How would it be read by another person? We're not doing that these days with texting and often emails too. So there was one quotation that I came across that I thought really said this well too. This one says, effective communication is 20% what you know and 80% about how you feel about what you know. Let me read that again. Effective communication is 20% what you know and 80% how you feel about what you know. So I think I understand the message the person is trying to send to me. And I might even get a text back saying, is that right? And I see that there's maybe a little bit of confusion, but it's how the person feels that matters. Does the person feel like, oh, yeah, you did answer? Because you will get that in the response. So even when you're writing it and you're reading it before you send it, and again, a lot of people aren't reading their messages, and I can be guilty of this too. I might have many typos in my messages and I'm rushed. Yet, I do always go back and see that, oh, wait, okay, maybe there's this typo, or maybe I should clarify this. And very easy to do these days, and it can be in a moment to just fix an error, just like erasing, or on a typewriter back in the day where we used to actually just go back and correct mistakes and then move forward again. We used to do this in emails. In texting, we can do the same thing. Now, this understanding of what you know, it's 20% of what you know. So effective communication. Okay, I know that I'm trying to send this message. And how you feel about what you know. So if I feel like I don't really want to share with you, I'll send a message of all good. And then I kind of want to feel like, do you care enough to ask me more? Whereas I could be very clear and say, yeah, some things are good, but I'd love to chat with you about it sometime. Or some things are good, and I'll say that maybe right now is not a good time to elaborate. Very clear, right? Very, very clear. And I think that if you were receiving messages like that, you would feel that that clarity of communication has happened. Do you do it? I would encourage us all to do it. There was a quotation that I know that I have mentioned in one of my previous videos too, which I think is quite a good one, so I'm going to repeat it in this video. This one is by George Bernard Shaw, and it says, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Now, a lot of times you've written to someone, you've texted, and you said, okay, yeah, I let them know. And then you're thinking in the back of your mind, well, was I clear enough in that? But I don't have time. I've got to get to this and this and this. And so my day goes forward and I move on with what I need to do next, but I haven't even finished a proper communication with a person. And this is what I really encourage you to think about and reflect on, to see, how are you communicating? Are you so rushed that you don't look back to see, did I get the message across? Because not only what I'm communicating, but how that person feels about what I'm communicating, or how I feel about what I'm communicating, is what really matters. So if a person feels like, I don't really understand this, if a person is left with confusion, is that okay for you? I don't think that any of us who are taking time to actually communicate in any way really want to leave people in a space of confusion. Yet, that is what our society has moved into. And the more we become comfortable with that, the more we become dependent on bots. And most people are very aware of, I'd rather communicate with a person than with AI. So today, I would encourage you that even though AI can do some good work, there is something that is a human touch, which is what leads to that feeling of communication. I want to finish with one more quotation on this Friday afternoon, and at least in Ontario. This quote is by Beverly Sills, and I thought that it's a great way to sum up today's video about communication. This says, there are no shortcuts to going any place worth going. There are no shortcuts to going any place worth going. And so if you're putting some effort into communicating with anyone, there's no shortcuts. And people today are looking for a lot of shortcuts. Can I use some technology to help this? Can something else answer my emails? Can I finish this quickly if I'm answering? Whichever way you are looking at things, there are no shortcuts. This, to a place worth going, the place worth going is the one that feels fantastic. Today, I hope you feel fantastic in your communication, and I hope you receive fantastic communication, because you are also modeling the exact same. I wish you a fantastic day and weekend ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.